So hi, everybody. I'm Debbie Kramer. I'm the Accessible Technology and Government Documents Librarian at Colgate University. I prefer that you not use gendered pronouns when you refer to me. You can call me Debbie or Dee, whichever one you prefer. A lot of people prefer to use Dee because it kind of goes better with the he, she, Dee. Just sounds better, goes better. So anyways, today I am here to talk to you about gender-neutral pronouns, or your preferred personal gender pronouns, or however you might want to refer to it. As you may know, back in spring of 2016, Colgate University began a policy to allow students, faculty, and staff to identify their preferred pronouns in addition to what they had been allowing us to do for many, many years, which is their preferred name. Just kind of adding in the pronouns also into that entire service. So right now, students, faculty, and staff have 5 options for your preferred pronouns. There's the he, him, his, the she, her, hers, the sie, here, hers, the they, them, theirs, they being singular, referring to only one person, or name only. You may have heard other people on campus kind of introduce themselves with ways that include their preferred pronouns, like, hi, my name is blank, my preferred pronouns are blah, blah, blah. It's a little bit easier for anybody who falls into the categories of using the big 4. He, him, his, she, her, hers, they, them, their, or ze, their, here. It's a little bit more difficult for somebody like me. I prefer to be known just by my name as opposed to gender pronouns. So it can be a little awkward. You can't really introduce yourself as, hi, I'm Debbie. My preferred pronouns are name only. So in the beginning, I would kind of introduce myself as, hi, my name is Debbie Kramer, and I prefer not to use pronouns. Unfortunately, that made it really easy to find English majors in the audience, or find out if somebody I'm talking to is an English major, because they'd always go, but you used I and my, and those are pronouns. So it took me a few years of kind of trial and error and kind of coming up with something that works a bit better, which is I prefer you don't use gendered pronouns when you refer to me, and you can call me Debbie or Dee. So the use of gender pronouns is becoming a norm for a lot of universities across the United States. Although, of course, there's been some backlash against it, as there always is. Some people were saying that using the singular they or using ze and here is not very grammatical and doesn't work out very well. Other people have, gone kind of overboard and have been said that the traditional pronouns he and she are going to be completely banned from campus forever, and everybody's going to have to use gender neutral pronouns. It's been 4 years since we've instituted this policy of preferred pronouns, and she and he get used quite often on this campus. So I think a lot of that concern was kind of misplaced. So you're familiar with he, him, his, she, her, hers. How did we wind up using they as a singular pronoun? And also, where the heck did ze, here, hers come from? So let me give you kind of a brief history of gender neutral pronouns. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Oops. Because I want to show you how to find some more information. So I created a web page that gives you some information, some resources about finding more information about gendered pronouns or gender neutral pronouns. So if you go to the library's homepage, which you can find it at col.colgate.edu, or just Google Colgate University Libraries, you want to scroll down the page to find the link Course and Subject Guides. Click on that. And then you're taken to our guide page. You want to select Subject Guide, pull down menu, and it'll bring up a lot of different options. And then you want to find the LGBTQ Studies link. Click on that. Now, once you're in LGBTQ Studies, you can click on the Pronouns link. And this has a lot of different resources and information and things that I'm going to be referring to. So basically, they used to actually be the common singular gender neutral pronoun for the English language. According to the OED, Oxford English Dictionary. It started in the 14th century. Chaucer's often kind of pointed out as being somebody who used it. There's this line from the Pardoner's Prologue, which goes, and pardon my pronunciation, I'm not Old English kind of person, but the line says, "And whoso findeth him out of switch blame, they will come up." And interestingly enough, I found this line has been cited all over the place as being one of the most famous examples of using the singular they. However, I had to go to an old microfiche copy that was like from early 1900s that was actually a picture of an even older manuscript to be able to even find something that used the actual wordage, "they will come up," as opposed to "he will come up." A lot of books and things had already changed it. So this came out of about like 1800s. Grammarians were advocating for he to be used as a singular for everybody. Joshua Poole, in his grammar of 1646, actually said, "The masculine gender is more worthy than the feminine." And that was his justification for using he as a generic pronoun. So this kind of type of thinking kind of carried forward quite a bit into English. For example, using he to refer to any single person of indeterminate gender in legal materials was made part of the federal law in the U.S. Code through the Dictionary Act of 1871. Meanwhile, singular they never really went out of style. A lot of authors, particularly like Jane Austen, have been using singular they for many, many years. The New Fowler's Modern English Usage Dictionary states that singular they came into common usage again as early as 1984. And Dennis Barron, who I have some links to some of his stuff on here, he was the professor of English and linguistics at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. And he had selected they as the word of the year in 2015. And then Merriam-Webster declared they as the word of the year, the singular they, as word of the year in 2019. So we have this perfectly fine singular gender-neutral pronoun that exists in the English language. So where did the "ze" here kind of thing come from? So of course, once, the 1700s, 1800s, once grammarians really kind of established that he should be the gender-neutral pronoun, a lot of people started coming back with, well, we need a singular gender-neutral pronoun other than he. A lot of other words kind of came in and out of fashion for a while. Thon, Thon, was a very popular one. E or a, just the letter E or EY. Co, and then of course there's the great big CZG kind of variants, which go from SIE, ZIE, XIE, or the more popular today usage, which are SE, ZE, or XE. So these words might have some roots as far back as about 1880s, some people have found, but they really gained notoriety in the 70s and the 80s. And especially Z here, it has a super deep history with the trans community and the trans community and the intersex community. A lot of trans activists such as Leslie Feinberg and Kate Bornstein kind of popularized that kind of usage and construction through a lot of their publications in the 90s. Trans and intersex communities have embraced and developed many other gender-neutral pronouns. One I've been very familiar with is using the EU kind of combination for intersex communities. But a lot of these have kind of come around, but really the Z here just kind of tends to be the most popular one. Another side note is pronunciation has changed quite a bit over the decades. So when I was first learning these gender neutral pronouns, it was always done as see and hear. as in see and hear. But the much more popular pronunciation is Z for right now. And kind of G has kind of completely bypassed. I never hear anybody use that pronunciation these days. And of course, English isn't the only language that has all of these gender issues. Sweden back in 2012 started using singular pronoun, gender neutral pronoun of hen. A lot of languages, Hebrew, German, Spanish. I mean, I think just about every language but French that had very highly gendered conjugations of nouns have been working on ways of shifting it into a more gender neutral language. In fact, an article was just published in the New York Times, April 15th, 2020. In Argentina, a bid to make language gender neutral gains traction is the title of the article. It states that a lot of people are now using the A or the letter E as opposed to the A or the O at the end of, so it would be Latine instead of Latino or Latina. So a lot of people are using these. There's a very interesting quote at the very end of this article. Hold on a moment. There it is. Ms. Donda's 5-year-old daughter always speaks with the A. I have to use it with her because she corrects me if I don't, she said. Isn't that awesome? So sweet. So again, this is all over the place. If you want to know a little bit more about some gender neutral pronouns history, of course, there's the links that are up on the library's homepage. Also want to point out that Dennis Barron, who's been doing a ton of work and research on this, has a brand new book out January in 2020 called What's Your Pronoun Beyond He and She? And you'll even notice on the cover of the book, he actually has his preferred pronouns right underneath his name. Oh, isn't that so awesome? All right, so you now know about the personal pronoun program here at Colgate, and you know what gender neutral pronouns are. So where do you find this information? How do you know what somebody's personal pronouns are, preferred pronouns are, or how do you tell other people unless you introduce yourself every single time you talk to somebody? So Colgate makes it fairly easy for you to actually identify your preferred name and your preferred pronouns. If you log into the portal, and I've already logged in here. If you log into the portal and go to the Home tab and choose the My Contact Information, or it'll show up immediately on the home page, you'll find the information for having your preferred first name. You can even record how to pronounce your first name. This is especially great if a lot of people have a lot of trouble trying to pronounce their name. So you can actually record how to do it. People can listen to it and learn it on their own. The personal gender pronoun, this is where we have just the 5 options: he, him, his, she, her, hers, thee, here, hers, they, them, theirs, or name only. But how do you find out about everybody else's pronouns? It doesn't show up in your directory, but it does show up in the view book. So in the nav bar in the portal, the view book, I'm going to click on that, will take you into, by default, I think it goes just to your particular department. But you can choose many other departments across campus to see what other people prefer for their preferred gendered pronouns. For faculty, you also have the option to find out what the preferred gendered pronouns are of your students. I don't teach, so I don't have access to show you that on here. So pretty easy. You got to put that stuff up in there. This information only shows up to people who put it into the portal. You don't have to if you don't want to. So now you know more about pronouns. Does this mean you have to go into every single meeting now and constantly introduce yourself and your pronouns to everybody that you meet? No, you don't have to. many of us choose to introduce ourselves with our preferred pronouns in order to kind of normalize the process to allow other people, especially if we, like me, use different pronouns than an individual might expect. It can also start conversations around why do we use gender neutral pronouns, or why do we have this here on campus. But you do not need to explain yourself, your identity, or your pronouns to anybody if you don't want to. However, you are expected to respect other people's pronouns. If somebody asks you to refer to them in a particular way, you need to do so. Gender identity and expression, as well as status as transgender or gender transitioning, is part of Colgate University's non-discrimination policy. And it's okay to make mistakes on occasion. It's okay to forget and kind of mess up, but to continually and willfully refuse to use a person's preferred name and pronouns can be considered harassment. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned a little something. If you have questions or concerns, you can speak to the Office of Equity and Diversity, or you can reach out to members of the Pride Employee Resource Group to ask more questions. Thank you very much.